Welcome back, listeners, to Sandman Stories Presents, a folklore podcast where I read you to sleep or until the next story. I'm your host, Dustin. Today we are back in the book of Ecuadorian folklore written down by Mario Conde. In the first story, we learn about the golden hen and what happens when you try to catch it. In the second, we learn about a male and female rock and the troubles they go through and what they really want. Okay, let's begin. The Golden Hen. Along the Ecuadorian coast, in the parts near streams and rivers, a golden hen appears at dawn. Those who have seen her speak of her with awe and respect. They say that the hen emerges suddenly on the riverbank, golden and glowing like a full moon. A dozen golden chicks follow her, shining like the first light of day. On one occasion, a group from Corina del Paral, the coastal area near La Troncal territory in Canar province, met up to trap that marvelous bird. They imagined that if they caught the bird, they could get a small amount of money and buy an estate and get out of poverty. If they were really lucky, they might find themselves with pockets so full of money that they would live like millionaires. The plan was simple. 2 men would hide on one side of the estuary, where the hen and her chicks had been seen in the mornings. 5 would form a straight line on the path that went from the creek to the abandoned hut made of bamboo cane, which would serve as a corral. 2 were inside the hut to close the trap on the desired prey. At 5 in the morning, each man took his post, crouched in silent expectation. Then came the hen's cackling and chirping of her offspring. They saw, but could not believe, the golden glow from the dark banks of the creek. There, just a few steps away, was wealth in the wings. Someone gave the signal. The hunt began. Everything unfolded as planned. Frightened, the shimmering birds ran down the path. Each time they tried to escape into the bushes, one of the hunters would force them down the trail toward the abandoned hut. They ran at full speed into the corral, 7 men on their tail. Once inside, they closed the trap. The chicks slipped away through the cracks of the old bamboo, but they had cornered the screeching hen. Amid the noise and golden confusion, one old prudent hunter had brought an old bedsheet. He cast it like a net. The golden hen was trapped. Fortune shone from the men's faces. Their days of poverty had ended. They would have enough money to buy laughter. "I'll lift the sheet, and you guys take the legs," said the owner of the makeshift net. No one moved when he lifted the cloth. The hen saw her chance and escaped through the legs of her captors. Again the men saw her, but could not believe their eyes. Fortune had slipped through their fingers like creek water. "What were you thinking lifting the sheet?" the leader yelled. But something strange happened. Words came from his mouth, but no one could hear them. The rest of the men watched him struggle, moving his lips desperately, but they could not hear a single word. Their ears were filled with the ringing of the hen's piercing clucks. It did not stop for the next week. Whoever seeks fortune, go one morning to capture the golden hen. Only the promise of spending many days with ears full of clucks awaits. The end. Okay, and story number 2, The Desire of the Rocks. At the bottom of one of the tributaries of the Napo River, called Yatun Yako, or the Great Waters, sat 2 great sacred stones, whose songs calmed the waters and vanquished floods. These volcanic stones were reddish-brown. One had a male spirit, and the other had a female spirit. On sunny days, they would chat excitedly of their dreams and their desires. One day, the waters of Yatun Yaku spoke of the vast sea. From that day on, both of them longed to see it. Not a day went by that the sea wasn't on their minds. One day in July, black storm clouds gathered and darkened the land until it was as dark as night. The people of the community cried out in panic. Lightning filled the sky. The air was thick with rain. It seemed like the end of the world. Low rumbles and the cracking of trees being split by lightning destroyed the peace of the land. The land was flooded. Water sloshed against homes. The rivers were swollen and angry. The jungle paths became violent cascades that crashed into the muddy waters of the river. There was an uproar at the headwaters of the Yatun Yaku. At midnight, the members of the community abandoned their homes and fled for higher ground. The rising waters, full of mud, stick, and branches, overflowed the banks of the river. The waters rose to an unsafe level. The water crashing down through the creeks and gulches concentrated into a raging rapid. Following the pull of the current, the male stone began to slowly roll across the riverbed. At last, he would meet the sea. As he tumbled, his spirit cried with joy, his voice mixing with the cacophony of thunder and storm noises. All the while, the female roc, who sympathized with the people's plight, stayed to calm the waters with her song. The following morning, when the rains finally ceased and the water level fell, the male stone had rolled all the way until Panacocha, hundreds of kilometers down the Napo River, sadly separated from the female stone. Since that day, every July the Yatun Yaku swells with rain like a woman's womb. In the dark of night, in between the claps of thunder that rumble through the jungle, you can hear a crying roc. That is the female, who sings her songs of regret and loneliness, asking the river to carry her to her beloved, stranded somewhere down in Panacocha. The male roc never rolled back up the river. He still sits on the bed of the Amazon, never quite making it to the sea. It is said that one day there will be another great flood. Perhaps then they will find each other, rolling together towards the sea. The end. I really liked that first story. It was kind of trying to catch the golden goose, but I like that the birds didn't have to die at all, that they just sang out so loud that everybody was like, oh, I can't hear anything. And in the second story, I really liked how there are the two rocs that talk to each other, and I don't know, maybe it follows human patterns, the male going off on an adventure and the female staying back to take care of the people and then being separated. I wonder if that's a cultural thing or if that's a worldwide thing, not sure, but I will look into it more. And the podcast shout-out is to Chatsunami, a couple of Scottish fellas talking about anime, cartoons, and other general nerdery. What's not to love? They are warm folks and have a lot of fun with their banter. And if you like their podcast as much as I do, go and give them a like, a rating, and a review. And the listener shout-out is to Hilo, Hawaii. They are 2% of the listeners of my show from the state. First settled by Polynesians, this is the most populated part of the largest island of the Hawaiian chain. It has been hit by various hurricanes and other disasters. Also, it has had a lot of immigration after the United States colonized their land. Still, it's a gorgeous place that I would love to visit, providing that it helps the local economy rather than hinders it. And so I say to my listeners, mahalo a me ka po makai. Thank you, and good night.